Welcome, everyone, to the Rutherford County Board of Education meeting, September 22nd, 2016. Glad to see everyone here. We've got a full agenda tonight with many important items, as you're aware, but before we get to that, we need to have our Pledge of Allegiance, and our real honor tonight, our pledge will be led by Ms. Joyce Michaels. It's the best pledge we've ever had.
I concur.
Audience, if you would join the board in a moment of silence tonight for two very special people. Certainly Mr. Young, as you notice, is not with us tonight. There was a death in his family, and he has lost, as a matter of fact, both grandmothers in less than a week. Grandmother Margaret Young passed away Saturday, September 17th, and grandmother Ruby Faulkner passed away today. Also, a close friend of mine and close friend of many of you, former Sheriff Truman Jones, had triple bypass this morning and is doing terrific, I understand. So that's certainly good news. If you would join me and the board in a moment of silence, please. Thank you so much. Our prayers, of course, go to both of these families. Let's move on to number 4, the approval of the agenda. I'll remind the audience that the board had a work session on everything that's here, actually, on Tuesday night, and they have all been thoroughly discussed, so we're really not rushing through any decisions on anything. Just wanted you to be aware of that. I need some approval on the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Mr. Estes, any discussion at all? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving to the approval of the consent agenda, which is tab 1. You've already, of course, looked at these items. I need a motion, hopefully, to approve that. Mr. Hodge, thank you. Second? Thank you, Mr. Estes. Any discussion? No? Hopefully not. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that passes. So, Mr. Odom, we're just off to a terrific start here. Are you ready to go with your... We got visitors first, right? If I can get to it, thank you very much. We do have 2 visitors with us tonight. Remind the visitors, I'll call you in the order in which the forms were submitted, and you have 3 minutes. If you come to the podium, you will be timed and welcome. Of course, we're always glad to have citizens here, even if they're mad at us, and I hope nobody's mad at us, but anyway, regardless, we're always glad to see everyone. And Ms. Keisha Sackett will be first tonight. Ms. Sackett, please come forward and state your name again for the record, if you would, and your address and your concern. And thank you for being here.
I get to go first. Great. Yes, I'm Keisha Sackett, and I live here in Murfreesboro on Black Hawk Way. And I have a son who goes to Riverdale High School, and my issue occurred back on the 15th during a half a day where they had an actual homecoming event that occurred during school hours. The school was charging each student $10 to participate in this event. If they did not pay the $10, they had to go to the cafeteria for the entirety of the school morning. According to the State Board of Education, they're not to be charging for any events that occur during school hours. And when I asked about this, they said that they were collecting the money for student activities. Where's that money going? And why are students being charged to participate? Excuse me, I'm nervous. Participate during school hours. Why? I'm just trying to figure out why that is.
You're surely not asking me, are you?
Well, I'm asking for somebody to look into it and find out why. I mean,
enough.
it's a discriminatory act when somebody, say these students who may be homeless or low income, they don't get to pay the $10, which means they don't get to participate in an activity that's during school hours.
Why don't, Ms. Michaels, if you've got her name, telephone number, I'll ask Riverdale to make a contact with you about what.
Well, I had called the board before the event, and they told me that they were going to call the school and ask the school not to charge the $10. As of that morning, my son had texted me and told me that he had to go to the cafeteria because he didn't pay the $10 for the ticket. So if there were 1,000 students that attended that event, that's $10,000. Where's that money going?
You understand we're not arguing with you at all?
No, I know. I'm just trying to give you
And
as
you
much
say you called
context
the
as
board.
possible.
You called the board.
I called here, and they said that they were going to call the school because the school wasn't supposed to be doing that. So it still occurred. So I want somebody to look into it and find out why that is.
And that will happen.
Okay.
Again, you have her information, including phone. Okay, thank you, Ms. Sackett.
Thank you.
Sackett, do you have a date?
15th of September. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And Mr. Rich Guider will join us at the podium. I couldn't find you. I couldn't see you at the podium.
I'm right here. Thank you very much.
You have 3 minutes, of course, and if you state your name for the record
All
and
right.
your address.
My name is Rich Guider. I live in Alpha 1611 Jubilee Court, and that's in the Blackman community. I want to thank you all very much for allowing me to come and visit with you all this evening. Again, my name is Rich Guider. This is my wife, Sherry Guider. She is a teacher at Walter Hill Elementary. Today is September 22nd, the day our son Jonah should be turning 12. There is not a more appropriate time for me to be asking you all for your help. This day last year, Blackman Elementary presented to our family a memorial garden planted in the shape of a J in celebration of his life. And for what would have been Jonah's first year at Blackman Middle, a sixth grade teacher kept a desk vacant throughout the year in memory of him. His classmates, teachers, and anyone that met him, they loved him. They knew him as we did, a scared-of-nothing, smaller-than-average child who was full of smiles, laughter, and virtue, even amidst a disease that would unexpectedly rob him of life within 6 months of diagnosis. On Father's Day, June 21st of last year, following 3 days of life support, pulmonary hypertension took Jonah from us. Since then, our grief has fueled a mission to build awareness and raise support for pediatric research and treatment of pulmonary hypertension. We raised over $25,000 in 1 year through special events and social media campaigns. And because of the support from our incredible community, mostly from the Blackman community and beyond, the Pulmonary Hypertension Association is matching our funds to create a $50,000 grant in Jonah's name, $50,000, going toward pediatric research and treatment of pulmonary hypertension. Our son will be a hero one day to parents of children cured of this disease. Last November, we launched the Run Jonah Run 5K, successfully raising over $4,000 its inaugural year. This fun run starts at Blackman High School and loops runners throughout the Blackman community before finishing back where it began. To grow this annual event in our community, where Jonah is already a hero, we asked for the Rutherford County Board of Education to waive the use of facilities fee for the utilization of Blackman High School's rear parking area. Every penny raised goes to the Pulmonary Hypertension Association in Jonah's name. Nothing is pocketed for profit. From setup to teardown, while on the property, an estimated 5 hours, we use only the rear parking lot for the race registration start and finish. No plumbing, no electricity, just asphalt. We even use generators to provide power where needed. All of the event elements for Run Jonah Run, from t-shirt, refreshments, and prizes to the race timers, signage, and city traffic control, are covered by donations and sponsorships. Numerous local supporters are on board with our goal to keep parents from having to say goodbye too soon because of this disease. We hope you will join us in this fight by allowing us to utilize Blackman High School's rear parking lot at no cost.
Would you give us the date again, please?
The date will be on November 12th,
November
Saturday.
12th. And Ms. Michaels, I can see you writing there feverishly.
Ms. McLeod is
Oh,
wanting to speak, I think.
okay. Ms. McLeod, please. I'm sorry?
It was approved on the consent agenda. She had it on the consent. It's been approved. It
It's
was
already been approved.
approved on the consent agenda, it was.
Awesome. Okay.
Just you walking in the door.
Well, listen, our goal is to make this
Evidently.
5K run as recognizable as James Evans' voice in the wintertime, all right? So,
Well, the chairman of the facilities committee, it was Mr. Young. However, we did recognize, and clearly Ms. McLeod who is really an expert on this,
okay.
recognized that was something that we would probably have done without question.
Awesome.
It was just want to get it done the right way, and she said it's on the consent agenda, so it must be there.
Well, you all are my heroes. Thank you all very much.
You are ours.
Yes. Thank you. Got an introduction, Mr. Odom, you want to?
I will ask our staff attorney, Ms. Angel McLeod, to please introduce the new paralegal, if you don't mind doing so, please.
Her name is Ms. Patricia Lyons, right here behind me. She started just after Labor Day with my office and is doing a wonderful job, and I'm so thrilled to have her on board. So Ms. Patricia Lyons.
Comes to us from MTSU.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Go Blue.
She will be a positive force, and many of us have known many members of that family over the years. And I'm sure that if you can handle your boss over there and just be very cautious, you're going to be fine. Mr. Odom, number 8, Spotlight on Education.
I'll ask Mr. Mark Gullion to introduce his team tonight, his transition services, but give him the opportunity to introduce the team.
All right, I certainly appreciate you guys giving us an opportunity to highlight our transition programs. Our transition services are for students from 9th grade through age 22 through our special education department. We're trying to create independent adults. I'm excited to highlight our Project Search, Transition Academy, and our work-based learning activities. And so we've got 5 ladies here tonight that are going to be sharing some information for you. We have a PowerPoint right here. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Lou Pascal, and she's going to talk about our work-based learning opportunities and career prep. And then I also want to highlight with our Transition Academy and Project Search, and also Mr. Howard is here with us tonight from Embassy Suites. That is through a grant, and that grant has dwindled over the past 6 years. 2 of our teaching positions, both at Transition Academy with Ms. Morgan and Project Search with Ms. Kirby, those are the only things that are funded through that grant currently. So I'll turn it over to them and let them talk about that right now.
Ms. Pascal is the one that usually sets up Special Olympics for Rutherford County and this whole area every year, so she's very much involved in this, I know.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Chairman Jordan, board members, again, I echo what Mr. Gullion said. We appreciate the opportunity to bring a little bit more attention to our community about our various transition services. Okay. I'm going to start off just by telling you a little bit about the students that are involved in this process. Those students have this set off down this pathway because their individual education plan team determines that the student would derive more benefit from hands-on work experience than academic programming. So those are the students that we're discussing, folks that need some vocational type training. Those students need to have good attendance, and that's in accordance with the attendance policy. And they also need to have good behavior. I will say we do work with students who have challenging behaviors, but we just have to figure out what setting we can do that in to provide that vocational training in a setting where they can handle that. So sometimes that may be at school. If they're able to progress, we may have them out on a site. Okay, and now I'm going to start just giving you a little bit of an idea of our career prep spectrum. We start with Career Prep 1. That is a non-paid simulated work experience in the school building, and I put some examples up there for you. Probably the one that I know the best is the Warrior Walk up at Riverdale. Also, we have the Practical Assessment Exploration System, the PAYS Lab. That's where they're learning different things like sorting. They clock in. They have all sorts of different jobs in the PAYS Lab, but there are people who know more about that than I do, so I'm going to leave that. Jobs within the school, sometimes they may shadow the janitorial staff, so that's an example of that type of situation. Then Career Prep 2 is the segment that I help with the most, and that is non-paid training. It is a job sampling program, which we're going to talk about in just a second. They go through a rotation of sites throughout the school year. So right now we're doing 3 sites. So they have one that started in late August. They'll be there till mid-November. We have another one that'll start in mid-November and go till mid-February. And then they'll have their third that's mid-February through probably mid-May. So they get to experience 3 throughout the school year. They must be 17 years old and a junior to participate in this part. And that is the goal there is to learn skills needed at any job, appropriate hygiene, following directions, those transferable skills that we all need in any job we're in. And at this time, we have 66 students from our 7 high schools participating for this year. So now I'm going to turn it over to Connie Hendricks.
Good evening. I'm Connie Hendricks. I'm a transition specialist with the special ed department. Once our students demonstrate the ability to be successful in the Career 2 job sites, we look for paid employment for them, and that can be through many different areas. We have a countywide job coach case manager, Terry Burnett, who helps many of them locate jobs, supervises them and trains them there, and then fades away as she is able to. Then we work with vocational rehabilitation and other agencies and have some placements through them as well. One of the parts of transition that makes a significant impact on how students are successful after high school is that their parents understand the linkages and the services that are available for them. So we work with our teachers to work with parents and provide them with the information that they would need. Once students are more independent, they can go into Career Prep 4, paid employment for students who need no assistance. They are supervised by their teacher in the school building, who is a work-based learning coordinator and has to go through the state training. Those students have to provide their own transportation, and the coordinator from the school, it's a graded class, and they go out and get the evaluations from the employers. So once that has completed, usually their senior year, we're ready to transition them to other post-secondary programs, and you'll be hearing about those in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Terry Burnett. I'm the transition case manager, and some of my duties include job developing for non-paid job sites and paid employment. I also do job coaching when they're on a paid site for those that need it. I was asked tonight to talk about the job coaches, and I was so excited to do that. Prior to going out to a business, the job coach have extensive training. They go out to job sites with 2 to 5 students to each site. The job coaches wear many hats: role model, teacher, boss, coworker, counselor, all in the course of the 90 minutes that they're on a site. The job coaches work with students on hygiene, time management, transferable skills as they move from one job site to another in the course of the school year. Job coaches also work on the soft skills with these students, such as listening, taking directions, talking appropriately with other employees, bosses, customers, and taking the initiative when they're on a job site. Job coaches supply vital information to help with future transition services that would be the best indicated for the student. And work-based learning would not be possible without these job coaches. Thank you.
My name is Krista Morgan. I'm the Transition Academy teacher. I've had this position for the past 6 years, and this is the 7th year for the Transition Academy. It started with 6 students, and now we are to the point where we are in the interview process and turning people away because there's not enough space at the Transition Academy. But we are trying to teach students how to transition into life after high school when they become 22. So the students that we have are age 19 to 22, and they have finished 4 years of high school and are ready to explore different opportunities that are outside the walls of the high school. So we're trying to get them so they're with their same age peers. So we are currently in a house that is rented from the MTSU Wesley Foundation, and so we have a partnership with them as well, and we have students that come over from MTSU and just kind of act as peer models for our students. The goal is to make them as independent as they can possibly be. So that looks different for everybody. Some of them will go on to other programs like Project Search at Embassy Suites, and some of them will go straight on to a job. Some of them, independent just means that they're helping out around the house more and learning to do things like that. So we're working specifically on those types of skills, domestic type skills, but social skills as well, helping them to socialize with their peers and adults in general. And we have currently 14 students that are at the Transition Academy. They participate in job sites. I have 2 that are at paid job sites, so they're in Career Prep 3, and then the rest of the class is all Career Prep 2 at non-paid job sites. So our job sites this year, this young man is working at the MTSU Aerospace Department, and this is not my strength is MTSU Aerospace, but they have strips that they do for flight calls. They're getting them ready for the MTSU students that are coming in for their simulated flying experience. So they're getting those ready, and they have to be in a certain order. We also work at the MTSU Rec Center and at Walgreens. While they're with me, we also get community experience where they go out and do things like ride the rover. We're teaching them about, we go out to eat once a week on Fridays that they pay for, and they are learning to tip and to pay for their own meals and order for themselves and know their likes and dislikes. But we also cook 3 days a week in the house, so they get that experience as well, so they're getting to cook. We have, at the end of the year, we do a survey with our parents, and they have the opportunity to talk about the confidence that their student has gained while being at the academy. And these are just a few of the parents that have said wonderful things about the academy and are so appreciative of the opportunity that they've been awarded because of you supporting us. So I have a student up there that Hannah actually has a job. She's out in the community working. She feels more confident about getting her check and taking it to the bank and depositing it. And she now has a debit card that she uses for her own expenses and things like that. We had a student, Glenn, and he has learned to budget his money. We budget almost every day, real money, not pretend money, real money. And they have the opportunity to fill out a ledger that's similar to a checkbook ledger. And so he now keeps up with his own money and his needs versus wants. I think he's kind of understanding that a little bit better. And he's also helping out around the house. And then the last student up there, Mary, her mom was telling me, this is obviously something that we did not teach, but it's just the confidence that she's gained, that she gets up at the doctor's office on her own, signs herself in, shows the insurance card, her ID card, and kind of takes care of that stuff herself and just walks on back, very proud and confident in herself. And that's something that she's learned because, again, of the opportunity that Rutherford County Schools has given her. So I thank you guys for that as well.
Hello, I'm the teacher for Project Search internship program. Project Search actually started in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1996. And it's now in almost all 50 states, as well as the United Kingdom, Canada, and Scotland. The program is designed to provide efficient and effective framework for the partners to help students with disabilities and their families navigate the transition from high school to work. This particular program's partners are Rutherford County Schools, Embassy Suites Hotels and Conference Center, Vocational Rehabilitation, and Progress Incorporated. Our program actually won an award for the 2014 through 2015 school year. We had 100% employment, which meant that every intern had a job. They worked at least 16 hours a week. They worked alongside non-disabled peers, and they made at least minimum wage. The interns rotate through 3 unpaid internships at Embassy while learning hands-on skills as well as life skills. And then the main goal of our program is employment for the interns, as well as to change society's views of people with disabilities. And Delrico Howard, he is the business liaison for our program, and he is the HR director at Embassy Suites. And he came along to talk about how this program has changed Embassy Suites Hotel.
Good afternoon, everyone. This program, Project Search, has basically changed the outlook of what I see as my staff at my hotel. Listening to all of the things that everyone has discussed about the transition services, I see why the students, when they come to us, they are ready to excel. I've seen the interns, I call them interns because they are interning for this particular job that they want to get. They are not only affecting their lives, they're changing the lives of my employees as well. Case in point, we had an employee engagement survey from our first year of the Project Search program. Our employee engagement survey went up 7 points after having Project Search in our hotel. I want to account all of that for Project Search, but in listening to my employees and how they have addressed and taken on this program, it has done nothing but be a great benefit to our hotel. The Project Search program has not only changed the lives of not only the interns when they're in the program, but it's also changed the lives of some of our senior managers. I give you one example. There's an employee, she works in our kitchen area, and it was a payday Friday, and one of the managers, he was having a bad day, and he walked up to her, and she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm doing fine, just speaking, making small talk." And she was like, "You know what? Today payday, and I'm gonna get me some bubble gum, and I'm gonna be happy." And he said that right there, that outlook that she had with this program and how she was able to grow from being the student in the Project Search program to being an employee, and seeing her outlook on life made him change his view of what he had going on that day. And he said, you know what, whenever he's having a bad day, he goes to speak to her. So whenever anybody's having a bad day at our hotel, they go speak to this particular employee. And those are some of the things that we have with this, the successes we've had with this program. Our program has been very beneficial, not only to the hotel, but it's as beneficial to our employees and the interns alike. So I would like to commend everybody for all of their work that they do with the transition employment for the students as they go out to try to learn job skills and life skills. So this is a very great program. Thank you.
Do you all have questions for us?
Board? It must mean you did an absolutely outstanding job.
We have a great group.
Ms. Moore? I'm sorry.
It's just a compliment. Just absolutely blown away. Didn't know that much about this program, and just what I've seen tonight and heard the testimonies makes me proud to be a part of the Rutherford County school system. So thank you guys for what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other board member with comment? I'm sorry? Just so the audience knows, it may appear that we don't pay attention. That's not true. It's right here under this desk. And rather than turn around, we just read it right off of there. So we are actually paying attention. We are.
While we're on that slide, I wanted to highlight, we have a little section. These are our Career Prep 2. That's our non-paid training sites. We have several that are actually our schools where our students go in and work in the cafeteria or hands-on science. Those are fantastic sites for us, and so we're proud that we're not only sending them out to the community, but we, as our schools, are part of the community and hosting our students too.
Well, they pack some things for the hands-on science kids that go to teachers. They help pack some of those materials for them.
Hands-on Science is a fantastic site because it's the closest we can get to being in a warehouse, because you have to be 18 to go into a warehouse for the most part, and I don't think we've ever been able to get in anywhere like that, and so that's a great experience for them. They get all kinds of variety of jobs out there, so that's a great program.
Board members, any other comments?
I do actually have a question I'd like to ask. The special education diploma, so how do employers look at that? Because I know, coming from a hiring background, so many companies these days are requiring a high school diploma as criteria for hiring. So,
at one point in time, the employers didn't make a differentiation, but it has become pretty well known that they don't like to accept the special ed diploma any longer. We have a new diploma, the occupational diploma, that the State Department has approved. It's to be determined after their sophomore year in high school if they can, or if they want to do that diploma, and there's a schema that is attached to it, and they have to have these skills to attain that diploma. We kind of encourage teachers to talk with parents about that, but through transition services, we hope that we can still place students with employers who understand their disability and are willing to work with them.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, excellent spotlight on education. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for giving us
Very beneficial.
some
Of
time.
course.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on the agenda, Mr. Director, I believe we're ready for number 9.
Number 9 is the 2016 ED 2152, Certification of Compliance with Tennessee Code Annotated Section 493-310-1A. The superintendent and the chairman of the board of each local education agency shall certify to the commissioner on or before October 15th of the current school year that all children enrolled in the local education agency have been furnished all required textbooks as determined by the commissioner. Recommend approval. The motion for approval of the 2016 ED 2152 Certification of Compliance Report showing all children enrolled in that LEA, Rutherford County Schools, have been furnished all required textbooks.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore and Mr. Holliday. Appreciate it. Remember, board, that evidently my name is on this. It says right here, Chairman, so everybody better have a book. Any comment? Discussion, okay, none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And nobody's opposed, of course. Number 10.
This is a textbook adoption for a book that's not on the state list, which is Form ED 5196, local adoption of textbooks not on contract. The Career and Technical Education Instruction Department is requesting approval for the local adoption of textbooks not on contract, not included in the official list of textbooks. And this one is Pharmacological Science, 12th edition for grades 10 through 12. Recommend approval. The motion for Rutherford County to request approval for adoption of the textbook listed above, which is not included in the official list of textbooks.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second from Ms. Moore, is that right? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. I ran into truly, Mr. Hodge, you'll certainly remember this young lady, Cora Beth Smith. I ran into her yesterday, and she is a pharmacist in Oxford, Mississippi. And she was an outstanding basketball player for Central and I just happened to think of her when I saw this. We train people. She's a good example for having trained people to go out into society after they finish. And of course, she was an outstanding student as well, and went to Sanford University and did very well. So I'll just throw that in there. I hadn't seen her in 10, 12 years and saw her the other day at Subway, which of course is my entire menu is at Subway. Number 11.
Number 11 is facilities. This is a naming of the internal street at Rocky Fork Schools. Engineering and construction is in the process of acquiring an address for the new Rocky Fork Middle and Elementary Schools. There is one internal street that needs to be named and approved by the Rutherford County School Board before Rutherford County Emergency 911 Agency will assign an address. This is the street that runs adjacent to the middle and elementary school on the south side. Since mascots are named Thunder and Storm for the elementary and middle school respectively, Mr. Trey Lee, project manager for engineering and construction, has submitted the name of Thunderstorm Lane. All other streets in the area will be named as road extensions of existing or future developments. Recommend approval. Motion to approve Thunderstorm Lane as the name of the street that runs adjacent to Rocky Fork Middle and Elementary Schools on the south side inside the school complex.
So moved.
Mr. Blair, thank you. A second?
Second.
Mr. Hodge, and I think Mr. Holliday and Mr. Estes as well. That's everybody, just about. All in favor?
Aye.
Part C.
Maybe you'll get Thunder Road on one of the internal roads in there that you.
B Road was.
B. It's not looking good for Thunder Road, I think. But the kids are going to call it that anyway. I think. B.
B is the Riverdale High School softball restrooms. Mr. Tom Nolan, the principal at Riverdale High School, has requested permission to add a restroom facility in the locker room of the existing softball building. Mr. Jim Thompson of Thompson Heating and Air will be coordinating and supplying labor and materials for the project. Rutherford County Schools Engineering and Construction has investigated and discussed the project with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson will permit the project and follow all state and local codes. The project is to be funded by parents and the Softball Booster Club at no cost to the board. The facility will have approximately 4 water closets, 4 lavatories, and 1 shower. Recommend approval of the motion to approve the construction of a restroom facility in the existing softball facility at Riverdale High School at no cost to the Rutherford County School Board as presented.
A motion, Mr. Hodge, thank you. Mr. Estes, a second. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Part C.
Part C is the Whitworth Buchanan Middle School concrete project. Ms. Avie Seymour, the principal at Whitworth Buchanan Middle School, has requested permission to place concrete around the baseball, softball, concession stand and place concrete for a future batting facility that will serve both baseball and softball for hitting practice. The project is approximately 2,640 square feet of concrete and partially donated by Smyrna Ready Mix, with labor being done by Summit Concrete at a cost of $1.90 per square foot. The project will be funded by fundraisers and donations at no cost to the board. Recommend approval of the motion to approve placement of approximately 2,640 square feet of concrete at Whitworth Buchanan Middle School and softball complex benefiting both the girls and boys teams at no cost to the Rutherford County School Board as presented.
A motion? Thank you, Mr. Estes. A second? Mr. Blair, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Just reminding the board, I believe that Ms. Michaels helped me out here. We signed letters today thanking Mr. Thompson for the softball facilities and Smyrna Ready Mix, and as you all requested, so that those will be in the mail tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We'll make a habit of doing this with every stakeholder in the future, will we not?
Well, I would think so, yes, sir. We always appreciate, obviously, the help of individuals and businesses, groups, whatever, for our youngsters, and these two fine businesses have really helped us out here.
I would add that typically at the end of each school year too, you saw those lists of businesses up there that take our kids and all. So I know from being director over the past several years, we very often at the end of the year present a certificate to those businesses and all. So I've been accustomed to signing that, so we do recognize their participation in that also. Number D, bids for Smyrna Middle School Edition and David Urey Elementary School Edition. Engineering and Construction received bids on Smyrna Middle School Edition and David Urey Edition in the Rutherford County Boardroom at 2:00 p.m. on August 30th, 2016. Bids were received from 2 contractors, R.G. Anderson Company Incorporated and Sane Construction Company. Sane submitted the best and lowest bid on Smyrna Middle School with a base bid of $8,944,000, and alternates chosen by Engineering and Construction totaling $1,101,800, bringing the grand total to $10,045,800. These alternatives include paint for existing building and corridors, replacement of existing galvanized plumbing pipe, consolidation of electrical services, new dining room expansion, new corridor entrance, annex, toilet rooms, renovation, and courtyard concrete. Sane was also the lowest and best bidder for David Urey Edition with a base bid of $2,518,000. The site and construction estimates of the 2 building, this is not the last motion, but in my, Matt, let me see yours, because this is the one last night, I think.
Yeah, you didn't read it as mine is written.
No, it's different. This is not the latest update or something.
We'll read off mine.
I could. We don't have a motion. Do we have a motion even on 11 there as they show up in 12? Okay, let me read that.
It was right here where you
okay.
You read a different figure.
Sane was also lowest and best bidder for the David Urey Edition with a base bid of $2,494,000 and the kitchen floor alternate of $24,000, bringing the total to $2,518,000. The site and construction estimates in the two-year building plan for these two projects total $13,350,000. These two bids, including site development, total $12,563,800, which is actually $786,200 less than the estimates we have been working with. Therefore, if the total David Uri construction and FFE estimates were funded, these funds would be available since the estimated cost for Smyrna Middle School has been funded. Then we need to do 12A and B.
Right.
We'll ignore that motion. That was the one we saw last night, but decided to break it apart. It's part of our discussion in the work session to break the two projects apart. So that will come in actually 12A and B, and that's probably what I have, I think, corrected here now. This is still under financial matters, number 12A. This is Fund 189, and you have a copy of that, I think, at your desk. The primary purpose of this building program amendment is to partially fund $780,682 of the $2,329,000 needed for the lowest and best bid for the Smyrna Middle renovation, and $125,000 in additional architect fees for Rocky Fork Middle School due to that bid. The projects with smaller amendments are $2,027 for construction on the Roy Waldron addition and $13,286 for construction and site for David Uri addition. The second motion addresses funding and the remaining $1,548,318, which is $2,329,000 less the $780,682 needed for the Smyrna Middle renovation. After these amendments, the budget for this project will be $11,700,000. The following amendments close out existing projects or move funds that are available in other existing projects. Moving $49,768 from Eagleville Phase 1 budget. Land for the Whitwest Buchanan Annex, moving $320,078. Architect and land for the next high school project, $177,158. Architect for future middle school, $300,412. And architect for future elementary school, $73,579, for a total of $920,995. 7/13 of Eagleville building funds have been shared with Musselburgh City School. This amendment maintains the proper shared balances. The cleanup amendment, which is the yellow column in your handout, for the John Coleman and Roy Waldron edition, reallocates already budgeted funds for these projects to the approved budget line items. No new funds are involved. Here's the first one. Recommend approval. The motion is to amend the Building Program Budget Fund 189 by a total of $920,995, with $780,682 for the Smyrna Middle renovation, $125,000 for Rocky Fork Middle School, and $2,027 for the Roy Waldron edition, and $13,286 for the David Uri edition, with the funding coming as presented and reallocated already budgeted funds for the John Coleman and Roy Waldron edition as presented. We do this very often at the close of a project or closer to the end of the year, but with this needing extra funds for these, Mr. Samuels is actually bringing things across earlier, the projects we can go ahead and close at this time of year. So
we had a complete discussion on this last night, and that's not saying we shouldn't have any now. If there's anything anybody needs to say, then this would be the appropriate time.
Mr. Chairman, is the first motion that we need to address the acceptance of the bids that were presented, or should we take this financial matter in 12A?
which one do you think first, the bids? Okay.
All right. I would like to make a motion to approve Sane Construction as the lowest and best bidder for both Smyrna Middle School Edition and David Uri Edition as presented, contingent upon funding by the Rutherford County Commission.
Second.
Okay, Board, you have heard a motion, and it's been properly seconded. Do we have discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Mr. Director?
To the motion back on
Right.
12A again, which is to amend the Building Program Fund 189, as it read earlier.
Director and Mr. Chairman, this is another example where we've got funds from these other projects that our construction department has been excellent stewards and can return these amounts to us. We're cobbling that together to be able to accomplish the task at hand, and as is presented in the agenda in 12A, I make the motion to amend the building program budget Fund 189, et cetera, as presented. My motion.
Need a second. Mr. Estes, thank you very much. Any comment from anyone? Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And there is none. Mr. Director, go ahead.
The second motion is the internal borrowing, which completes the total amount for Smyrna Middle School. The other was transfer existing funds. This is internal borrowing from basically ending fund balance is what we're looking at mostly here. So recommend approval of the motion to amend the Building Program Budget Fund 189 by $1,548,318 for the Smyrna Middle renovation as presented, and to borrow this amount internally within Fund 189 with the shared monies already transferred from the general purpose unassigned fund balance until borrowed secondary funds become available. And just as a reminder, we did move $5 million, if you remember earlier, to allow us to do this and do some of the Rocky Fork activities. And that's the reference in this case.
So moved.
Blair, thank you. A second? I believe that was Ms. Moore beat you by 2 billionths of a second. Any comment?
Outstanding efforts by the accounting department here as well, because there are absolute cartwheels happening to make all of this balance and jive with the requirements of our county and all of these state requirements. So putting the money in the right buckets is a challenge indeed.
Well, and we have two facilities that are in desperate need of renovation, and it's time.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second, right? We're in good shape there. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
On to cell phones.
We actually met with Mr. Binkley today, and we may have as early as next week or the next or so some on the two concession restroom things. And he said much of that is done. So I think we're going to get that very quickly, just as information to you. Cell phone stipend. Mr. Mark Gullion, Special Education Coordinator, would like to request the standard phone stipend for Terry Burnett, Special Education Caseworker. Because our position requires travel between work-based learning sites, she is required to communicate between the multiple job sites daily via email, and at the moment is using her personal cell phone data to communicate. Recommend approval of the motion to approve for Terry Burnett, Special Education Caseworker, to receive a monthly cell phone stipend.
So moved.
Second.
Claire, thank you. Mr. Holliday, thank you for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Part C.
Part C is the fund cooperative agreement for the 501c3 school support groups. Two changes are proposed for the annual cooperative agreements between Rutherford County Schools and the 501c school support groups, which do not want to have their funds flow through the school activity funds. The first addition is a requirement that the 501c3 school support group contract with an independent CPA to perform the agreed-upon procedures that's in the tab of this motion that will be in the Rutherford County School Systems Administrative Handbooks, Procedures Handbook for a school support group, and to provide the Rutherford County, Tennessee Board of Education with a copy of the independent accountant's report on these procedures within 90 days after the end of the school organization's fiscal year. Our school activity fund auditors, Matlock and Clemens, think that having an independent CPA perform the agreed-upon procedures will address our concerns in supplements and fraud at least as well as an audit. All supplements and payments for services would be examined, and in audit, only simple transactions would be examined. The second edition would require approval from the principal and director of schools before submitting a request for a gaming event to the State of Tennessee's Division of Charitable Solicitations and Gambling. Recommend approval, motion to add to the cooperative agreement between Rutherford County Schools and the 501c3 school support groups the requirements that the school support group contract with the independent CPA to perform the agreed-upon attestation procedures as presented and obtain approval from the principal and the director of schools before submitting a request for a gaming event to the State of Tennessee Division of Charitable Solicitations and Gambling.
So moved.
Mr. Holliday, thank you. Mr. Hodge, I believe. Thank you for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I think, I believe, just if you'll just allow a personal opinion here, I think we're kind of at the spot here now with the 501s and the booster clubs and the changes that the state's insisting on, and that we are also insisting on. I think we're probably at the spot where we need to let this kind of work a little bit, and let's see where we are. And the people that I have met, at least in the booster club area, I think they would agree with that. And I think this will work. I think it will solve what the board wants solved. But I think we need to really give it a school year. That's just my opinion before we go to happy things here on 13. Any comment, Mr. Director?
Number 13 is naming Riverdale High School football field. Pursuant to Policy 3.210, the director may make recommendation to the board for naming a portion of a school campus. Ryan Nance, on behalf of Riverdale High School, submitted a request to rename the Riverdale High School football field the Tom Nolan Field at Tomahawk Stadium, effective October the 14th, 2016. This is the date of the Riverdale versus Oakland High School football game for senior night. Mr. Nolan has been a teacher, coach, assistant principal, and principal in Rutherford County over the course of the last 35 years. Recommend approval of the motion to name the football field at Riverdale High School the Tom Nolan Field.
I believe that was Mr. Hodge. Mr. Hodge, I need a second. Mr. Estes, thank you so much. The Riverdale, at least 3 members of the Riverdale faculty are here tonight. And they're making sure that, yeah, that's right. They're making sure that we do the right thing. So I think we probably ought to pass this. Although, if you're interested, Mr. Nolan was a little reluctant, but he came around because we threatened him. No, he came around. I'm just kidding. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And there is no opposition, of course. So I would assume that's October 14th, Riverdale versus Oakland's at Riverdale, of course, and you'll do something at the half or before the game, do you know? Okay, well, that's very exciting. That's okay. Any other comment on that? Thank you all for being with us, by the way. Appreciate it. I need to read 14 to you. Even though I read it the other night, we got to follow the law here, but this is all good stuff, I think. And so the audience knows as well. The Tennessee School Board recommends reviewing policies annually and review Section 1 Board Operations this month and refer any potential revisions to Angel McLeod, and she's sitting right over there, and she has a date for the next policy meeting. It seems like it's October 24th. Is that right? Okay, I guessed right. But we do review the policies at least once per quarter, and Ms. McLeod is a taskmaster. She makes sure we do what we're supposed to do. Appointment to the County Audit Committee, Mr. Coy Young is going to continue in that job. The Federal Relations Network, otherwise known as the FRN member, will be Aaron Holliday, and he's agreed to do that for another year. Board member Lisa Moore has agreed to take on the considerable task of Tennessee Legislative Network member. And then we left the policy committee, or I left the policy committee. I guess it's me, no sense sharing the responsibility with that. As it was last year, I think you all did a great job, and Mr. Blair did a great job of appointing some excellent people. And the board serves, everybody on the board serves on the policy committee. along with Kenneth Curley, Bill Tollett, Kim Franklin, Joan Scales Simmons, Dr. Andrea Anthony, Claudia Belden, Regina Harvey, our director, Mr. Odom, Angel McLeod, and Jeff Reed. And I appreciate the service of all those people that I just named. And October 24th, it says so right here, if I just bothered to read it, right here in this room at 5 o'clock. And then again, January 17th, 2017. Also, I've appointed 2 committees this past week. And the first one, we formed a committee on sports safety to study sports and safety issues there, particularly concussions. And Mr. Terry Hodge is going to chair that committee. And Mr. Coy Young will be assisting him in that as a representative from the board. And Mr. Hodge will have some announcements on that whenever he wants. But we're right in the middle of football right now, of course, and we're also right in the middle of girls soccer. So we're going to wait. Those are the 2 sports, I think, particularly with concussions, that we're going to look at, gather information, whatever. Part G, Supplement Committee. We're going to meet on the 12th, and we're going to be looking at supplemented positions, including mostly, actually, coaches, but also other members, yearbook, choir, band, and some other items. And as I said, we're going to meet October 12th in this room. And the members, I'll chair that committee. Mr. Estes has agreed to help me with that. And Jason Brown, these are all, of course, county employees or citizens or former county employees. Jason Brown is at Eagleville. Bill Hockenberry is at Smyrna Middle. Ben Cates, private citizen, former coach. John Dinkins is principal. Lee Ramsey is at Siegel, a coach. Chris Chambers, assistant principal at Laverne High. Tim Tackett, our AD. And Lindsay Hofford, our fine arts person. And we'll be meeting in this room on the 12th, 5 o'clock. Insurance update, I believe Ms. Barnes is going to tell us that they met today.
The committee met today, and we'll bring you those financials at our next meeting, so we have time to put that together. But if I could take this opportunity to just mention once again that the Know Your Numbers Wellness Campaign deadline is next Friday, September the 30th. So I encourage all of our employees who are on the medical plan, and if their spouses are also on the plan, to make sure they complete the biometric screening, which is the blood draw, and the health risk assessment, which is the survey on the Cigna site, to avoid that $30 per month or $300 fee that they will be charged if they don't complete both of these pieces. There are several clinics that are open for extended hours, and that has been posted and sent out to all of our employees. But if I could also mention that now, every Tuesday at Blackman from 6 a.m. until 7:30, every Wednesday at Stewart's Creek, same hours, and every Thursday at Walter Hill, 6 a.m. to 7:30, and then Saturdays from 7 to 11 at Blackman and Walter Hill, and those will be available next week as well until that deadline date.
Ms. Barnes, thank you. Thank you to Mr.
Yes,
Mr. Sandig as well for, I know those the insurance, and not the most exciting meetings, but clearly very important ones.
Clearly.
Without question.
Thank you.
Director's update time. Mr. Odom.
Okay, a couple of things. One, you have in your handouts tonight, a memorandum went to Captain Barry Hendrickson from Sergeant Bill West and Sergeant Kerry Nelson, Enough is Enough campaign. And what this is about is an Eddie Eagle program. But let me read you something that they've printed here. This is from Centers for Disease Control finds. Tennessee ranks #1 in the unfortunate category of accidental shooting deaths, which spiked more than 450% in the volunteer state in 2014, according to federal data. The most recent findings from the Centers for Disease Control show Tennessee's accidental firearm fatalities jumped from 9th in the nation in 2013 to #1 spot a year later. The data shows that some 105 people died in accidental shootings compared with 19 the year before. So what the SROs are talking about, and they've been doing this for a number of years, but we just have a renewed effort here to take a look at this, that they work primarily with first grade through third grade to try to teach these boys and girls not to handle firearms, not to be involved with this, to try to help, because that's, and you see it on TV like we do, the accidental shootings very often involve young people and children very often that pick up somebody's firearm. So I really commend our SROs for taking a lead on this and trying to reach out to our children and tell them the dangers of that. So if you hear about it from your constituents, they're going to be working on this over the next few weeks. So appreciate that. I did get to have the opportunity today. I was out visiting a school and experienced one of our drills. I was at Blackman Elementary today, and to our parents and board members and all, we conduct a fall and a spring drill at a school that, and we have a number of scenarios that we use. The one at Blackman Elementary today was the two officers walk in. They did not expect it. I did not expect it. None of us knew it was going to happen today. School's going on as usual, and they walk in the door, and the announcement is you're in a situation where there is a vehicle pulled up out front. There's a bomb in front of the school. It's set to go off in 10 minutes. So I watched the school go into action as they pull the plan that they had worked on for this. They moved those kids from the front of the building, got them in the gym less than the 10-minute time, and it was very organized. It was structured. To move it, they put the crisis response team in place, the team that deals with anybody that there might be injuries. They locked the front doors, everything down. So it was an interesting thing to our parents and people that's watching how well our people are trained and how well this process worked. After it was over, the crisis response team met with the two SROs, and they debriefed about what could we do better, and they complimented the school very much in it. Teachers were very open, administration's open, SROs talk about could we do anything to make it even better than what it was. So got a first-hand look at it today. Really glad that safety is really important in Rutherford County Schools, and we practice it multiple times a year, and we have plans in place, and I saw that today. It was good to see. This was one of the things last night we talked about. Last Saturday was the 40th anniversary celebration at David Urey Elementary, so Roy Waldron's 40th birthday celebration will be on Friday, next Friday, September the 30th, 2016 at 9 o'clock a.m. at Roy Waldron. So September the 30th at 9 a.m., Roy Waldron School's 40th anniversary celebration.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Before we get to the general discussion, before I forget it, and these folks from Riverdale maybe can help me, but Riverdale is having a basketball alumni game, both girls and boys. I believe that's the 22nd. I believe I'm almost certain of that date. And David Limbaugh is going to check. I believe that's correct. 40-some-odd years of history there, and they're going to have a big time, I would assume. They asked me would I come, and I said I have lost my last game. I'm not going to do any coaching, but I might attend. So you checking there, Dave? Is that the right day? It is, isn't it? Okay. Well, let me know if it's not, and I'll make the announcement here. General discussion, board members. Anything you want to put on the table?
Mr. Chairman, I'll share with my fellow board members that the reauthorization of the Carl Perkins Career and Technical Education Bill has passed the House of Representatives. It passed 405 to 5. So overwhelming support for federal funding of career and technical education programs. It is stalled in the Senate, though, and it is stalled in the Senate because our own Chairman Alexander, senior senator from the state of Tennessee, says, quote, "I'm not going to bring it before the committee until I can be assured that the Education Secretary will follow the law instead of rewriting it in the way he is trying to do with the law we passed to fix No Child Left Behind." It's a worthy comment by Senator Alexander. He does have his eye on the lame duck session between the presidential election and the transition, where he hopes to push this through the Senate with some strong language that will restrict the editorial aspects that the Department of Education has added to these appropriate pieces of legislation. So I'll offer that just to my fellow board members as an update.
Possible he's waiting on an election and a new cabinet as well. I don't know anything about that, but I'm just saying he may be waiting.
He may be, but really he's got his eye on that session between November and January, where he's hopeful that the same kind of support that came together for a replacement legislation for No Child Left Behind could get in place to keep things on track. We need an effective legislative branch, not just an argumentative one, but one that gets us the federal funding that allows us to do the work here in the state of Tennessee and here in Rutherford County. And then we need empowerment that allows local decisions to make the best choices for our local classrooms. And we don't need the money stalled in Washington, D.C. because people are bickering back and forth.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. Ms. Michaels, I would assume maybe, beg pardon? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's October 22nd. We're playing Oakland at 9.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I hope nobody gets mad. They didn't like each other much, but they'll be okay, though, I'm sure. Ms. Michaels, we need to probably, from now on, I guess, I did not ask Mr. Holliday for comment on federal stuff, and I should have done that. And we probably just need to go ahead and just put him back on here, and Ms. Moore as well, and then if they don't have anything, they don't have anything. I don't know, the state legislatures, of course, they're kind of winding up to get started now anyway, so may well have something. Okay? Any other general discussion by board members?
I talked with Ms. Pilgrim about it, said they were impressed, and one of the things that the reason they were coming to look at us, she said in Hawaii that the programs are, as her description, they're in silos. In other words, the high school does one thing, higher education does their thing without communicating with the high schools, and in CTE or the technology people over there does their thing. And that's not true, you know, for us. We have cooperative agreements here with the Tennessee, the TCAT group. We have it with MTSU. We have it with Motlow, with another group of universities. So they were trying to figure out how you develop these articulation agreements and how you get all these people to work together. And that's what they wanted to see. I'll give you another little interesting fact, because he asked, well, what do you do with CTE over there? What do you teach and things like that, you know? And I'm sure culinary arts must be one of the ones, because the person said if you went to a different restaurant each day to eat, it would take you 16 years to cover all of the restaurants in Hawaii to get around to each one of them. So that should be a big program there, shouldn't it?
It just so happened that I met those people totally by accident. They were at Oakland High School.
Yeah, they did.
And Mr. Spurlock and Mr. Marshall and myself and Ms. Hodge, Terry, you might be interested in this, we all agreed to escort her back to her home state if she'd just pay the plane fare. But there's evidently no funding for that. So we did not go back to Hawaii. But at any rate, they were very nice, and if they can be believed, they were most impressed with Oakland High School and Rutherford County in general. So it was a delight meeting them, because there were State Department people there as well, and so forth.
They went from Oakland then back to the Chamber of Commerce and talked some more about, of course, what our workforce development and the things that we're doing, that the Chamber actually joins with the school system and with the community to help provide all these opportunities and pull it together. So they've got a full load, I think, from coming here.
Hodge, Mr. Holliday, you're getting your wish. That somebody was maybe paying attention. They had to come from Hawaii to pay attention, but they did come from Nashville. There were some people here from Nashville.
It's no accident. It's no accident. And I know that my fellow board members have heard me say this before, but if there's anyone new listening, I'm not going to miss an opportunity to say it. The state of Hawaii is looking for an example of excellence in career and technical education. Obviously, they go to the Department of Education. They say, where can we find excellence? They say, look at Tennessee. They go to the state of Tennessee. They say, where can we find excellence? They say, go to Rutherford County. Once again, an example, a tangible example of what Rutherford County should absolutely hang our hat on, that we are the pebble in the pond, we are the example, and here is a real situation where people have toured our schools in the last 5 or 6 days looking for excellence in education, and it is happening right here in Rutherford County. We are the touch point of excellence in education, and we should not shrink from any opportunity to set new courses and set new standards and higher achievement. And in fact, I think I've said before, our legislators should use our example here in Rutherford County rather than surrendering on education or on public education. We have examples in the national media of post-secondary for-profit institutions failing. ITT Technical Institute losing their accreditation with the federal government, no longer able to accept federal funding, and they just fold. And this is the idea of for-profit education, and they want to invite that into the public school system, K through 12, and it is wrong because it will fail, even if it only fails in rare occasions, and it will leave students wanting and needing something special, and that is their education. We cannot miss one day, not 1 month, and certainly not 1 year.
Any other general discussion? Thank you, Mr. Holliday. We can close on that positive note, I think, if you'd like. Ms. Michaels, I believe we are Monday night for zoning of Rocky Fork Middle School. We're going to take a first look at the zone lines, right? Okay. Okay, last call for any, 5:30, you said 5:30, board members. Thank you so very, very much, everyone that contributed. We are adjourned.